Welcome back to the Deep Threats Podcast. We are here live and in action this week. We are back with our normal casting crew. As always, you can see my wonderful man right here. Wheels back. And he is happy-go-lucky. Hold on, he seems taller than me. I'm not liking this.
I am taller.
Oh, that's probably going to screw up my camera. Yep, no, we can't do that. Oh, that was fun. All right, so for all you guys... Is there an echo? No echo?
I don't think so.
Hey, can you put on... All right, for all you guys out there in the chat, thank you for being here. Sorry this was so, spur of the moment. I did not do an intro video today, which was a complicated process, but as always, we share the stream live all the time, and you guys are more than welcome to join us. It is posted on Twitter, as always, if you do follow us. Should be at The Deep Threats on Twitter. So for all you guys out there, please come join us live. That being said, we are going to get into it today, and we are going to talk a little bit about the most controversial topics in the NFL as of right now. Wheels, what has been on your mind this wonderful, wonderful weekend that I know you love more than anybody?
So, another week is in the books, and another week has been decided possibly by the refs. The refs have, again, dipped their grimy little hands into a game and possibly have changed the outcome. I feel like it's just the NFL is not helping themselves look any better by saying that the league isn't fixed, possibly, with Vegas when these types of calls happen. And there's no true repercussions for it. Yes, they were demoted from the playoffs, but they are reffing the Steelers and Ravens game this weekend on Saturday, which is a primetime game. So
who is they?
Brad Allen and his crew. So my biggest issue
Would you like to explain to the fans who Brad Allen is?
Brad Allen is a head referee in the NFL. He has been in the NFL playoffs, I think, over the last 5 years. 4 of the last 5 years, it was.
He's a good ref.
He is. We all have mess-ups, but...
He's a very good ref, and it's kind of exhausting to talk about people who think that Brad Allen is not a good ref. This is like the most exhausting thing right now to talk about.
No. I do.
And I know I told you don't want to get into this before the show, but we can get into this because here's the thing. There are people that do their job on a daily basis that screw up more than NFL refs, but because there is 5 different angles of every different play, plus some when you add all the phones in the field and you add everybody who's taking a video camera of every single play, it's going to be analyzed and dictated. If you were under, and I get it, these guys get paid for this, but you want to find them for this, and you want to find them for every bad call, and you want to find them for any time there's a judgment call.
No, I don't want to do it for every bad call. I just want to do it for games where there's implication.
Who dictates that? So anytime as a team makes a bad decision, or anytime there is something that happens that is controversial in the end times of games, that ref has 2 options: call the play or get penalized?
No, so what needs to happen is like the NBA. There needs to be a 2-minute review. In every game of the NBA, there is a 2-minute review that the commissioner goes over for every game. And that's where the officials or the referees are held accountable. I have no problem. They don't have to be penalized for everyone. Obviously, mistakes happen. We're all human, right? So I'm not trying to...
I'm not human. Not even close.
No,
I'm like Elon Musk alien. Just not good.
At some point, there needs to be a strike system. Hey, you missed this. It's okay. Hey, that was a big call. Possibly changed the game. Okay.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
At some point, there needs to be transparency from the refs.
There's obviously transparency. We see what's happening, so there's plenty of transparency.
But there is, but if the...
And we don't need to get into this too much.
No, but if the players get fined for talking about the refs, but the refs don't get fined for making bad calls, that's no transparency.
So why can't we just be disagreeable in this situation that the refs still do the refs' job, and let's not fine the players?
I'm fine with that, but you have to be okay.
That's kind of my point, though.
But
Let's
Myles Garrett's a perfect example. He did not get a hold call against him for 5 games? 5 games.
So now you want a ref to ref?
5 games.
So now you want a ref to ref?
No, and I say that was.
But do you see what I'm saying? Is when a ref doesn't make a call, it's egregious. When a ref makes a call,
when
it's
you're getting
egregious.
your jersey tugged.
I'm not disagreeing that refs are.
But this is what I'm talking about with the 2 minute, like with the NBA. There's
but none of those are under 2 minutes, right? Like none of those, all those holding calls. I'm sure they can be, but most of those holding calls you're talking about are throughout the game.
Yeah, they were in 5 games. Myles Garrett had 1 holding call, and it was against the Jets, and I was at the game. I could not believe it.
Right,
and I could see it from section 500. The dude was holding on to his jersey.
I don't disagree with you,
but
where I'm going to disagree is that for. Let's just go out there. How many calls are made in a single week by the 5 reffing?
A lot.
Okay, so we would say on average 10 penalties a game, 32 games.
Yeah. So okay, 320.
So out of 320 plays, how many of those do you think are bad?
Let's do 2%. 2%.
I think it's less than 2%.
Okay, so we'll do half. Do a 0.5%.
Because if you take 2%...
But my biggest issue is game-changing calls. Game-changing calls. Another bad call. Another bad call is the Browns. I hate bringing the Browns up, but obviously I watch them vehemently every week. The Amari Cooper stepped out of bounds. He was nowhere near out of bounds. That was a egregious bad call.
Sure.
Wait.
But that's a reviewable call.
It's not. It's not a reviewable call. Let's say it's not a reviewable call.
Why is that not a reviewable call?
It's not a reviewable call because he was out of bounds. You can't review a play that has been already discussed by the refs.
But I don't think I can't remember. I don't remember if they said he was out of bounds at that point in time. But yeah, I do remember the game that they did not review that play.
But my biggest thing is, let's say that's overtime and he gets a breakaway and it gets called back, or the calls where. The NFL has gotten a lot better about this.
I would argue,
and both of you have agreed, is when a possible fumble happens, they let the play happen, which is great. I love that because then you can go back and review that.
I'd prefer a ref not ref and go back and adjust accordingly than to over ref, right? And make the wrong call.
We had the over ref years back. Remember the Rams Saints, the pass interference? And they implemented where PI can be reviewed.
And it didn't work.
It was terrible. It slowed the game down. It was worse for the fans. It was worse for the players. It was just a bad. I'm not saying that it needs to go up to the sky. No, that's stupid. It's not worth it. But my whole thing is I just want them held accountable a little bit.
But here's the thing. So the max a ref takes.
You get suspended a game. You get suspended 1 game.
He did.
That was just playoffs. They got demoted from playoffs, but you didn't get suspended.
That's huge. That's where they make their bonuses.
Well, that's their problem, which is I'm fine with.
And I'm okay with that too.
But I said, let's do a 3-strike system. Let's say first time, slap on the wrist, hey, get better. Second time, you get a little fine. Third time, you're suspended 1 game.
But
it's no different. If you want to be at the top, all these NFL players, if you want to be at the top of your game.
But I would argue the more you do this to these guys, right, the less people are going to want to ref in the NFL, and the more people are just going to continue to ref college because they make similar money in college. Not the greatest.
If I could make what they make.
They don't make that much.
As a ref.
They don't make that much. And granted, when I say that much, I mean according to the NFL. So according to the NFL, the head ref throughout the year makes $500,000.
I guess that's just not a lot. Come on.
But the average down ref or the down line and all that stuff.
$250,000.
No, it's like $125,000.
Okay.
And that's why I said.
I'll take that. To make
that's
bad
not
calls.
A lot considering you're never home.
No, but that's the sacrifice you make. It's no different from the players. It's the reason why these players are making.
I don't disagree, but to think that they're on average making all $500,000 is not accurate.
So we'll say $250,000. On average, they make $250,000.
I think it's somewhere around like 175 to 250.
Okay, so we'll say 200,000.
Somewhere. In there. But I'm not. Don't get me wrong. Anytime I'm 99% accurate at my job and I don't make half that money, anytime I'm 99% accurate, I get appraised, right?
Yes, but
so even if these guys are 95% accurate, Again, I said this in our group chat the other day, right? I said, players will play, Refs will ref.
Coaches will coach.
Fans will bitch.
Well, yeah.
That's all they... You
I
can over-ref a game. You can under-ref a game. No matter what you do, the losing team will always complain about the refs. Always.
But that's why I'm saying you come up with a system. A system that you put in place.
But no one's going to be happy.
I mean...
I know I sound super Goodelian right now.
But the players aren't happy when these things happen to them. You think Myles Garrett was happy? Myles Garrett was one of the most genuine guys that I have watched in the NFL to this day. You think he was happy to bitch about the refs? No.
How about this? How about
guess
this?
What? They retaliated against him and didn't call a hold for him in 5 games.
How about this?
It took almost 5 games for him to get a holding call. That is irresponsible. That is just inconceivable. That is awful.
How about
There's no
this?
way that you can tell me that the refs aren't out for blood at some players that talk about them.
Oh no, I would agree there. I mean,
that's
did
what I'm
you
talking
hear
about.
that? I think it was Ryan Westbrook.
I showed you
in
all those-
basketball where like he came out.
Oh, Russell, yeah,
Russell Westbrook, and he came out and he talked to a ref, and the ref essentially just wasn't going to call anything, and he's like, "This is how it's going to be," and it's like, yes, they do. The refs do have way more power than they probably should have.
But that's what I'm saying. That's where you run into issues.
How do you take it away? You can't take away power if you want someone to police the game.
And
it's simple.
And if you don't think the refs are betting on games, you're beside yourself because they are 100% betting on games.
I would argue refs' families are betting on games. They can't bet on games.
They can't, but they are. And players can't either, but they are. I'm gonna tell you right now. They have a buddy that they're putting money.
Oh, for sure. They have a
you
bookie. I would agree they have a bookie.
Let's say you're a punter.
I'm just saying they might have a bookie.
Let's say you're a kicker in the NFL, and you say, "Hey, I want you to put this bet in for me for this game." All right, bet. You give me cash, I go make it in my name. You don't think that's happening every day in the NFL?
You definitely don't make it in my name.
That's what I'm saying.
All right,
Jameson Williams is the only...
Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna essentially move on from the reffing aspect of this, and I just want to bring this one thing up because obviously this whole conversation is dictated. Oh, it's squeaking. This whole conversation is dictated because of this play, right? This exact play here where a offensive lineman, number 68, went to the ref and said that he declared himself as an eligible receiver.
And Jared Goff told him to go declare as eligible, and he walked up to Brad Allen and declared as eligible.
He said he declared as eligible.
And Brad Allen waved him off and walked over, if you watch the replay.
Okay, so I guess I have 2 questions for you. I have 2 questions for you in this instance, right? So if I am Decker, which is number 68 for all of you that don't know the situation. If I am Decker and I am declaring myself to the ref and the ref waves me off and continues, what happens? Do you continue to the ref to make sure that he knows you declared? Or do you just say, he might have heard me?
Well, usually in the NFL, the head coaches get with the refs before games and talk about any of the trick plays.
Justin, what are you talking about the ex-CFL reffing? Can you explain that to me? Or the XFL reffing? Can you explain that to me? I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So usually before games, the refs and the head coaches get together with any type of trick plays they're going to call. That way they know it's within rules. This was from Rex Ryan that I heard on ESPN, and I take him very seriously because he was a head coach for multiple years for the New York Jets.
Rex Ryan's an idiot.
Well, he is an idiot, but I do think he's telling the truth. I mean, the refs and the head coach do get together.
Rex Ryan's right.
But I do agree with what you're going to talk about here, but this is the cherry on top for me for this year. This year has been one of the worst years for bad ref calls.
I would disagree with that statement. And the reason why I would disagree with that statement...
for the replacement when the refs had their...
the strike here?
The strike.
Okay, I would disagree with that statement. And the reason I would disagree with that statement is it's not that there's more bad reffing. It's that there's more camera angles. That's where I would go with this. So the more cameras you have on one particular thing, the more you will see errors being had. I don't think reffing's any different from 20 years ago than it is today. I mean, they're over reffing, but that's because how the game is going.
And you can only blame Goodell. And you gotta blame Goodell.
Right. Thanks to Goodell and the CTE stuff, that's where the game's going is over reffing.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
I agree there.
So now what I'm going to say here is that even if Decker, right, this is part 2, even if Decker declared, which it was not announced and it has to be announced by the ref, even if Decker declared in this picture, right, the tight end is covering up Decker. Therefore, in this situation, it would be an illegal formation because if the left tackle declares, the tight end has to step back off the line,
He does.
or there's too many men on the line.
Which is an illegal formation.
Which is an illegal formation, which is the same penalty call as the same situation they would have been in originally.
Yeah.
And there was somebody that brought this up the night of, and it was Boomer. And I can't believe Boomer brought it up. I was kind of shocked that there was 2 penalties called on this play, but they only declared the 1 penalty because it overrode the next penalty.
And I want to also go back to the Dan Campbell aspect. If I'm Dan Campbell, I take the kick. You tie the game.
Okay, so
If
I don't disagree with you.
It's at the end of the day.
After the second time.
Yes, at the end.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but no. At the end of the day, you got the penalty was called. There's nothing you can do about that. Why would you then try again from a longer distance when they know you're going for it and you're gonna have to pass?
It wasn't. It was only 1.5 yards longer. Okay.
No, but that's the game essentially. Just kick the field goal, go to overtime.
Okay, here's what I would say, right? And Ryan likes to bring this up. Player's coach. I agree. He's a player's coach, which makes him not a good head coach sometimes.
No, he's a high school coach.
Okay, here's what I will say.
Not as a bad thing.
Momentum was trending to go for the 2. I love it. I love it. I love it on the first play. Momentum was high. They got down there. The second one, you lost a little momentum with the penalty call.
Yes.
But then you got the other penalty call, which puts you back into a situation like, I think you lost all momentum on the third play.
Yeah.
You should have easily said, you know what? I get we got 2 freebies here. We needed to just take the point and go to overtime.
Because it wasn't going in your favor. It was trending down.
And you also, that means you don't trust your defense, which also is not good for you to not put your faith in your defense in
when
that
you're
situation.
a defensive head coach.
Just saying.
And what have I said about the Lions? The Lions, ever since the Ravens week, their defense has not been the same. The Ravens broke the Lions defense.
Yeah, I'm just saying. So
let's move on.
We'll go on from here. I'm going to have to look into the XFL rules, Justin. I'm not sure what you were talking about with the NFL should look at the XFL rules. I might have to see what's the difference between the reffing in these situations. But to move on from here, we'll get in. Y'all need a hotline. LOL. Driving can't explain.
We're in the process.
Hey,
We're in the process.
Yeah, we are definitely in the process of doing that. I'll have to look into it, though, or maybe reach out. So that'd be great.
Let's talk pretenders in the NFL.
Well, hold on. We got some more news, which was hilarious today. To be honest with you, dude, it's a glass of water. I don't know what to tell you.
It's a football game. Things happen. I know he's an owner. I know they're held to higher standards.
I say just pay for the kids' season tickets and move on.
Yeah, but like I said, this is a bad look for the Panthers organization as a whole. I remember if you remember about a month or so.
This is a bad look for the Panthers organization.
If you
Nothing
remember,
they've done earlier.
If you remember, about a month ago, I did say the Carolina Panthers are officially the most dysfunctional organization in the NFL as of right now to date that I can remember. David Tepper has ruined that team. David Tepper is now one of the worst owners I have seen in my 18 years of watching football. I cannot believe that he is still an owner somehow with the way he has ruined the Carolina Panthers. And I cannot believe that some free agents are still willing to go there given the way that he has treated some of the players and trades and some of the staff. I feel bad for Bryce Young. I am very happy that C.J. Stroud did not get drafted there. But I do ultimately feel bad for Bryce Young. I feel like Bryce Young would do better on any other team right now. Even the Patriots, who have 2 more wins, I think would be much better. Who are, in my opinion, are a quarterback and maybe 1 wide receiver away from being contenders in the AFC East.
Who?
The Patriots. They're not that far. With Belichick
they're always
as a
a quarterback away. You know what's funny? It's actually great that you said that.
I think Bryce Young is going to be good.
It's great that when you said what you just said. Because with what Belichick has done, you go look at all the defensive statistics. They're ranking in like top 5.
Yeah.
In like every.
It's their offense.
I'm not even just like as a team. I mean individual player stats. Right, like their safeties, their corners, guys that he is so good at getting the most
out of the league,
out of mid talent, and I love it. And anybody that says that Bill is not doing a good job coaching, they're insane.
Bill, it's the problem. So real quick,
he put his faith into Bill O'Brien, and it didn't work.
No, exactly. The problem is not Bill Belichick. The problem is Bill O'Brien and the offense. He brought in Bill O'Brien, a guy he trusted from Alabama. He was a former head coach for the Texans years back.
He coached Mac.
He did coach Mac, and it didn't work out. We all gamble and we lose sometimes, and this is what Bill Belichick did. But the problem is Bill Belichick did it in a season where he couldn't afford to do it.
I disagree with that.
And I hope he doesn't leave the Patriots. I don't want to see him go anywhere else. I think he works well. I love seeing him with the Patriots. They're a few offensive pieces away.
All right. So, speaking of Patriots and where players go to die.
Actually, I want to...
Where players go to die. Where is this young man going to die?
He's going to go off to a playoff contender, obviously.
Because my assumptions at this point... And my number one, personally, is... I would say Dallas at this point because they're missing...
a true running back, a number
Not
one.
a true running back. Like, they're missing someone who is a little bit more dynamic in the offense. Tony Pollard is a one-cut back. They tried to do something with Deuce Vaughn. Didn't work. Rico Dowdle is mediocre in my mind. You might think differently.
No, I don't like Rico.
I think he's mediocre. So, Dalvin Cook has so much potential still, and I think a little bit left in the tank. That's the reason he left Minnesota, because he didn't see Minnesota as a contender.
But let's look at the playoff teams that have clinched, because I don't think he's going to the Jags, Bills, Colts, Packers, Buccaneers, obviously. Maybe he goes to the Bills to be with his brother, but I don't see it. So let's go to clinch teams. Ravens, maybe. He's up there. Could definitely go there. Dolphins, no.
So I think the Ravens, the problem with the Ravens, right? Okay, so Dalvin Cook just got released, okay? So he sits on waivers till Thursday, so it goes in waiver priority. The Ravens have the lowest waiver priority because they have the highest record in the NFL. So I think the Ravens and the Browns, right? Both teams that could use some dynamic ability at running back, especially the Ravens with losing Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, which is a huge loss. He's a great rookie, looked very good this year in the times he's played.
I think that those two teams are kind of last in the conversation just because of the waiver. I think he's going to get picked up on the waivers.
And the Ravens are another team that get the most out of running backs. They always have. Let's go to the Dolphins. Obviously, they don't need them. Have a very good two-headed monster in Miami. Chiefs, another team I don't see him going to. Niners, no, not at all. You got CMC.
Oh my God! Could you imagine if he went to the Niners and they just dropped Elijah Mitchell and you had a two-headed monster in CMC and Dalvin Cook? Run.
Cowboys, my favorite. I do think he goes there. Lions, I don't think so. David Montgomery
and Jahmyr Gibbs. I think there's too much running back
Eagles,
power.
I don't think so. Again, you have
everybody. Myles Gaskin, DeAndre Swift, and Kenneth Gainwell. Not Myles Gaskin.
And the Rams, you're not going to because Kyron Williams,
Boston Scott,
he's been a huge just impact. So
yeah, but for depth-wise, Kyron is the only guy. Well, yeah. They don't have it's the Tony Pollard argument, right?
Well,
I think
you have Darrell Henderson, who did not play bad in the absence of Kyron Williams.
That's true. And he's familiar with the offense.
And Elijah Mitchell has been in the system of the Niners. That's the only reason why. But
I agree.
Honestly, the two teams that I see him going to are the Browns and Cowboys. And as of right now, the Browns, I believe, have.
What about the Packers?
No, why? The Packers never do anything big in free agency, especially off waivers.
Yeah, but I mean, not.
I don't.
I mean, they still have Aaron Jones, right? So maybe not. Maybe not.
He's gonna pass through waivers, I think. I think he's going to get signed, but he wants to go to a true contender. And the Browns and the Cowboys are both true contenders. I'm sorry.
Truly, it's funny.
Hate on me for being a homer, but...
No, you're right. I mean, at this point, you're right.
At this point...
You're talking the two best records in the NFL.
The Browns are 11-5.
Third. I lied.
And they're the fifth seed, and they're second in the AFC East, and there's...
I think it's Cowboys,
only two other teams right now that have a better record than them, and that's the Niners and the Ravens.
And I actually think it's the Cowboys.
I do too. Like I said, it's the Cowboys. Do
we know who has priority?
The Browns would, because they are second in the AFC East. Then the Cowboys have the.
We're a wild card team in there. Okay, that's a good point.
It's because of standings.
That's a good point.
Because they have the division, we do not. So technically, we have priority. But the issue is.
What about the Chiefs? With Jerick McKinnon, the injury, Isaiah Pacheco just hasn't been too dynamic. They don't really have a good pass catcher outside of Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. He would be good in the slot every now and then.
I do too. I just.
You don't think? And they need to accrue weapons, right? They need a weapon.
I don't think the Chiefs make it out of the first round.
So I have a question for you, though. Does Dalvin Cook think that if he goes to the Chiefs, they have the consistent? Because a little bit of this is Dalvin Cook's choice, right?
So running
if he
back,
makes it out of waivers, a lot of this is Dalvin Cook's choice.
So I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna run through this real quick. The Chiefs, the problem isn't running back. The problem is wide receiver.
Yeah, but my point is
wide receiver, not tight end.
My point is Dalvin Cook can play in the slot and add some dynamic ability to that offense.
He's not going to play in the slot if he's not. I'm telling you.
You don't think?
No, he's not going to want to play in the slot. He's going to want to go from a shotgun formation, and and guess what we run a lot of the times. And
I was so pissed off when Julio Jones got 2 touchdowns this weekend.
Julio looked good, but
I'm just so pissed off.
If I'm Cook, I'm going to go to a contender that I know can win at least one round, and I said this weeks ago, I don't think the Chiefs make it out of the wild card.
So I would assume, right, it would have to be
the Cowboys
the Browns.
Or the Browns.
I don't know if the Cowboys can make it out of the first round.
Let's go. All right, so
if the Cowboys have to play I guess if they play the Packers, they can make it out of the first round.
Let's segue to that. Let's talk pretenders and playoffs, all right? You're going to hate me. A lot of people are going to hate me.
So, for all you guys out there, everybody is eliminated from the AFC except for
the Jaguars.
Well, the Texans and the Steelers are on the bubble. The Texans and the Steelers are only teams on the bubble. And then the Colts, the Bills, and the Browns currently are all wild card teams. So, the teams that have clinched their division, well, not clinched. The Ravens clinched the division. Dolphins, I think they are still tied.
They can lose.
They can lose the division. Chiefs clinched their division, and then
the Browns clinched
the Jags. The Jags are still battling for their division.
Yep. So,
and that's the AFC.
Yeah, which is.
So go ahead, talk to me about who you think are pretenders in the AFC.
All right, so let's
and then we'll move on to the NFC.
Let's start with true teams that I love in the AFC. Ravens, they are the best team. Yes, the best team in the NFL.
Been saying it for 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
You have been, and they are.
Even though I call them to lose.
The beat against the Niners, the win against the Niners, the win against the Dolphins, where they just demolished both teams. Said, "Hey, the Super Bowl is going to run through the AFC North."
You know what's funny?
It is.
You know what's funny? I keep the entire time I'm like, you know what? Miami can beat them. This. 49ers can beat them. This. I am just trying to find the weakness in the Ravens.
They don't have.
And right now, I just don't see it. They are so
firing
tough.
on all cylinders late. This is exactly what you want to do.
The only weakness I see right now is the linebacker in coverage, and then Roquan goes and gets an interception and throws everything out of whack last week. I just don't I don't see it. I don't. And this scares me because I think I said this 3 or 4 weeks ago. They right now look like the best team in the NFL, and that was after the MVP argument between me and Ryan. And I kind of was like, I kind of agree with you a little bit.
Yeah, and so let's go to the Dolphins now. Ravens best team in the NFL. Ravens, Dolphins. I'm sorry, Dolphins fans. I've been saying it for weeks. It took you 16 weeks to beat a team with a 500 record or better.
I disagree with this.
I don't think you have what it takes to win a Super Bowl.
I don't
think you do.
I think right now they're still the second best team in the AFC.
No, that's the Browns. I'm sorry. Call me a homer.
I'll put the Browns at third.
No, the Browns are second. The Browns defense, the Browns offense with Joe Flacco.
I would argue injuries
the Dolphins have a better offense, yes. But
yeah, I would argue injuries are plaguing us. Yeah. Now, granted, they lost Bradley Chubb.
That is huge. People don't realize
they lost their second corner in that last game.
Let's talk about this. You are down 40 points with 3.5 minutes left. Why in the hell?
I don't think it was 40 points.
Okay, 30. Sorry, 30.
It was a good substantial.
You were down more than 3 touchdowns with 3 minutes left.
That's accurate.
Why in the hell are you playing your starters?
For the same reason that the Chargers played Mike Williams. You know what's funny about that is that the Chargers learned their lesson this year. They're not playing anybody the year they're out of it.
I hate to say this. I do, but guess what? That's what you get, Mike McDaniels. That's what you get. I'm sorry. Sorry, you capri wearing asshole. That's what you get.
I don't hate Mike McDaniel.
I do. He's such a tool. He is.
He does kind of remind me of like an arrogant tool a little bit, but you know what? He's done a very good job with the offenses he's coached, and he's another player's coach, right?
Oh yeah, when you have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle,
no, even when he was even when he's in the 49ers, I think he had a lot to do with those offenses. But
again, another team with multiple.
My thing is he's a player's coach, right?
Yeah.
So like he reminds me of Dan Campbell.
He's the Dan Campbell of the AFC.
And ironically, they both have the same record.
Yep. And so
and they both have struggled winning against good defenses. Both of them.
Yeah. So let's go to the Chiefs.
All right, Chiefs.
They are fourth.
Garbage.
They're fourth. I'm sorry. As of right now, they're fourth.
I would argue the Chiefs are worse than the Bills, the Colts, the Texans, the Steelers.
Oh, if you want to talk
and the Jags.
If you want to talk about in the hunt, 100% they are.
The greatest thing is they won their division.
Yeah. If not, you might not have made the playoffs.
They don't look good.
I'm sorry, they just don't. That's all I have to say. And the Browns, obviously, like I said, call me a homer, but guess what? The Browns have beaten the Ravens. They've beat the Niners.
I'm calling you a homer because a lot of those we had a very healthy defense, and we still had majority of our offense. I don't know if Elijah Moore is coming back.
I mean, what do you mean majority of our offense?
I mean, like 3 guys.
I mean, we didn't have Nick Chubb. We lost Nick Chubb in week 2. That was like 90% of our offense.
When I say majority of our offense, I meant weapons.
Deshaun Watson hasn't done shit. Joe Flacco's been running circles around him.
Majority of our weapons.
Elijah Moore is a big deal, but I don't think it's...
I think Elijah Moore is a huge deal because David Bell has not stepped up to fill that role.
And Cedric Tillman's the guy that needs to step up. Not David
Cedric Tillman will step up, and he has stepped up when Amari Cooper wasn't in that game. It's Cedric Tillman, David Njoku. Don't disagree with that. But all I'm saying is that your conversation when we beat the 49ers, right, we knocked out 3 of their players, and we had a healthy team.
We started PJ fucking Walker. PJ Walker, an XFL quarterback.
But we had a healthier team. You had Amari Cooper. You had Elijah Moore. You had David Njoku. I do.
We were starting
and you didn't score well. You didn't score well. You scored, 17 points or 20 points to 17? It wasn't a big scoring game.
A win's a win.
I'm not disagreeing, but my argument is that you're saying they're the second best team in the AFC, and I would completely and utterly disagree with you.
It's fine. When they make it to the Super Bowl, you can hate on it.
He's only saying that because every Browns figurine is like broken in my basement in the last 2 weeks.
You're going to have to get new ones.
It's not a good situation.
So
moving on to the NFC. So right now, teams that have clinched their division
are the Niners,
are the Lions, the Niners, and that is it for their division. Then you have
clinched a wild card spot.
Clinching wild card would be the Cowboys and the... Did the Rams clinch?
Yeah, the Rams clinched.
Oh, yeah, the Rams did clinch as well. They're sitting everybody this week.
Yep.
The Rams clinched, and then the Eagles clinched. And then your teams, you have 2 teams that are kind of floating out there. The Bucs currently control their division, but they're tied 8-8 with the Saints. And the Falcons, if they end up winning, and there's a lot that needs to happen for them to get in. The Seahawks, if they win... You got the Packers on the fringe, but the Packers have to lose for the Seahawks to get in.
Yep.
The Vikings have to win, and they need the Packers to lose.
They
need... No, the Vikings play Detroit.
No.
They play Detroit.
That's what I'm saying. The Vikings play Detroit, which they have a very good shot at winning.
Because Detroit's sitting most of their players.
And Chicago is looking very good, even though and guess what? Chicago would love to ruin the Packers' chance.
And Nick Mullins is starting this week for the Minnesota Vikings. For all you guys out there, they just announced that. I think your likelihood right now, right? Obviously, we don't even need to get into this one, really. Best team in the NFC... As it stands, it's the 49ers.
Without a doubt, no questions asked.
I would argue the second best team is sitting probably right there with Dallas.
Yes.
And then I would go into the third best team is probably the Philadelphia Eagles at this point.
No. I'm sorry. Give me the Rams over the Eagles. Give me the Rams over the Eagles.
It's hard to argue because they're healthy, right? With Kyren Williams, the Rams, with Kyren Williams back, have looked like a totally different team. Because there's 2 levels to that offense now.
Stafford's looking very good.
My only issue with the Eagles, and I will take this defense, what wins championships is defense wins championships.
And their defense have no identity right now.
They're incapable of taking away the ball.
Yeah. They
don't give up the ball
lost
as much.
to the Cardinals.
I'm not talking the Eagles. I'm talking the Rams. The Rams don't have an identity on defense either.
Well, no.
They're incapable of taking away the ball.
Who has a better? I think the Rams have a better offense, but I know you're going to say no.
I think with Kyren Williams, I would agree. I think with Kyren Williams healthy, I would agree the Rams have finally two levels to that offense, right? Before Kyren Williams, they didn't have much of a run game, so Stafford's throwing and he's on his heels all day.
Yeah, and they're getting it out quick. The Rams run game, or the Rams quarterback play reminds me of the Browns a little bit. You have a veteran pocket passer in there who knows how the NFL has worked for so many years, and he's comfortable
when he has time.
When he has time, and that's what Joe Flacco is. Joe Flacco is comfortable when he has time.
I agree. I completely agree with that.
So
I would argue those two teams are fringe with each other. Okay, yes. So I would argue healthy,
Eagles and Rams are fringe. I'll agree, but
I would argue when healthy that the Rams could be better than the Eagles, and it's probably pretty close just because of Aaron Donald.
Yeah, it's a
right.
Coin
so, but like that defensive front, I mean, you have probably arguably the defensive rookie of the year in dude out of Georgia. I can't remember his name for some reason.
Brock. No.
Philly. Defensive rookie of the year.
Jordan Davis.
No, Jordan Davis is a sophomore. He came last year.
Shit.
It's the other dude. I can't believe both of us don't remember the defensive rookie of the year. So they arguably have the defensive rookie of the year. The secondary is a little bit older, but they need some depth to start playing, and they have been. Jalen Carter, thank you, Kelly. We appreciate it.
And the Rams probably have the rookie of the year.
Yeah, Puka Nacua probably, depending on what C.J. Stroud this week, I think Puka Nacua probably walks away with the offensive rookie of the year award. And I get by the way, I'm glad you said that. Puka Nacua does not deserve any accommodations for beating a guy in the 1960s who set a rookie wide receiver record who probably only played in 14 games.
Agreed.
It takes you 17 games to do what a guy did in 14.
Asterisk.
Congratulations. Here's your asterisk. I don't get me wrong, and I like Puka Nacua, and I think there is an accomplishment. So from how I understand the XFL officiating, they have somewhat of a conventional system on the field, but they have a separate overview ref that's not part of the field crew that oversees the play. From wherever New York they can do the challenge calls, the field refs miss. Since they are not part of the field crew, they seem as if they are not swayed by the personal bias that you have face to face. Yeah, I agree with that. My only issue with sending it off
is the time.
Is not so much the time, because we have phones. Look, we're talking to people live and in action. No, it's not so much the time. It's the simple fact that I don't know what they're reffing on. Now, if they gave a quick like what we do with the guys that come in and commentate for the refs, and they go, here's how I would break it down, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand why you can't have a Gene Steratore in Vegas or in New York sitting at a booth and going, this is my team. This is the one I will oversee all day.
Yeah.
And if it's a controversial call, it gets shipped up. He does a quick 30-second video. Boom, boom. Here's how it is. There you go.
And there's just...
And I don't think that would take longer than watching some of these guys stare in. But my only issue is that it turns a lot of these calls into reviewable calls. Yes. Like, where do we cut the line?
Thank you for your input, Justin.
Thanks, Justin. I appreciate it, man.
So this is where it becomes muddied water, right? Do you make a new rule and give every coach one challenge call for referee flags? Let's say there's
So you add an additional challenge.
Yeah, but it's for
or
call.
Change the challenge in general to you can challenge plays or challenge a ref's call, kind of like baseball, right? So if there's a ref that makes a bad call, you have the chance to review the bad call, but you only get however many challenges you have a game, which is 2 challenges a game. If you win both, you get the third.
Yeah.
So just essentially expand the challenge flag to encompass controversial calls.
Yeah, but the thing is, the controversial call, that's where you're going to have to implement it, not a
kind of define it.
Not a holding call on 1st and 8, or not. Sorry, 1st.
Yeah,
and 10.
I would argue
1st and 8,
essentially referees' discretional calls would be like holding, block within like 5 yards and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But now when you come into,
But that's
or it's only a reviewable call on spot fouls.
I do like that. Yeah,
That'd be
I like
different,
spot
and then
fouls.
they could change the definition of a spot foul. But we'll continue with the NFC conversation. So where do you see the Lions in this situation?
last.
You see the Lions below the Bucks.
Oh no, I'm talking about clinched. So if no, I have the Lions above the Bucks.
Okay, so you think the Lions are better than the entire NFC South?
I think they're in the middle of the Rams and the Eagles.
I think coaching's going to be their downfall.
That's where I was going to turn to. So
I was like, if I saw, and I'm not sold on your boy up in Philly.
I don't like Philly.
I'm just not sold on. Yeah, I'm not sold on Sirianni being the best coach out there either. I think that he had phenomenal assistant coaches and coordinators.
And it's showing.
It's showing because those guys went somewhere and both are contending for the playoffs. And he is struggling to maintain that one seed, and he's not even paying one of the most dynamic and most athletic defenses in the league.
Yeah, and
they're all so young.
And the same can be said for the Lions. Dan Campbell worries me too in the playoffs. He does. It's a different animal. Obviously,
it's actually funny that you say that because who are the team that we usually in this situation we'd be like, they're out. Dallas, first round, out, right? So, but we're now talking about coaches.
As much as I hate Dallas, I don't like Dallas. I don't like Philly, but
we're talking 2 other coaches that might be worse.
Yeah, and they just some of the calls
and their coaching's not any better. By
some of the coach that Dan Campbell has and calls he's made this year has just been head scratching for me. Like as somebody who sits back and watches the game, and I like Detroit. I like Jared Goff. I've been a fan of him since he was blackballed by the Rams. Love the guy. Love Amon-Ra. But they could have a win or 2 more with some of the calls that he has made. They just the calls that
I don't think that win mattered outside of them trying to clinch the number 1 seed.
But
you still, I mean, you know what
he's making rookie mistakes still.
You know what I do love?
It's not his rookie year.
If they tie that game, they have to play all their starters this week because now in that situation, if they win the next game and the 49ers don't play their starters and they tie, I think they technically would have a better record because of the tie.
Yes, if they won, yeah.
Yeah.
It would be 12-4-1.
Right, which is better than
12-5.
12-5.
Yeah. So
that's actually kind of funny. They could have clinched first even with a tie.
Yeah.
So why not go for the tie?
That's why I said that.
Damn you, Dan!
I would have gone for the tie. But so that's
sorry, guys. I was rooting for Detroit that game.
Who's your dark horse to make it to the Super Bowl?
Oh,
on the AFC side.
Dark Chiefs.
Browns.
Oh, you mean like dark horse as in like who's my lock in my head?
Yeah, obviously the Ravens.
I was thinking dark horse as in most not likely.
No, I mean like who do you think has a shot but people aren't giving the proper respect to?
Bills.
Okay.
Bills get no respect from anybody.
No, it's kind of like the Browns.
I think the Browns have been getting respect from the national media ever since that dominant win over the Jets.
They said the Browns have a 3% chance to make it to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's just based on standings and starters missing, right? So that's just an analytical take.
I mean,
but most of these guys have conversations that this defense is still one of the most dynamic defenses in the NFL, and they're missing so many pieces at so many levels.
And on the other hand, I'm going to have to say the Rams. But I
think the 49ers are going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
Healthy?
No, that's what I'm saying. There's another team that could. But
that addition of Chase Young, and I know you didn't like it too much, but that addition of Chase Young just made Nick Bosa's ability to get to the quarterback that much better.
Yeah. And
they're still missing secondary pieces, which I'm shocked they never addressed. But they're so good at getting to the quarterback, they don't think they need to worry about it.
Yeah, and I want to talk about a team in the hunt currently for the NFC that the quarterback that I love this year. I said
Jordan Love.
And I mean Johnny. Jordan huge. He's a huge Packers fan. he did not have a lot of confidence. And I told him, I said, Jordan Love's going to be fine. Just give the guy a few games. And he looks like the answer. He does. Obviously, he's not Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, he's Aaron Rodgers right now. Technically, he's throwing the similar stats up to Aaron Rodgers. I just saw a stat that compared the most. The fact that Dan Marino, Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy, and Jordan Love all have the same stat. Most 3 touchdown, 0 interception games in their first 17 games, and they all had 5. The fact that Brock Purdy and Jordan Love are in the same list as Dan Marino and Patrick Mahomes,
and
that is insane.
And this is what I want to talk about. You look at that team. You have Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs. You don't have a superstar number 1 wide receiver on that team. In my opinion, you do not. And
Christian Watson, he just wasn't there all year.
I know. I still don't think he's a superstar number 1.
And I would argue Romeo Doubs has played a lot like he reminds me a lot, and a lot of people might say I'm wrong in this situation. He reminds me a lot of Randall Cobb. He reminds me a lot of Randall Cobb. He's just a very good possession receiver that catches the ball no matter where you put it.
Jaden Reed was I'm sorry, but
how did you get the same out of Randall Cobb as I did? That's so funny.
I do. I think he is. But Jaden Reed was a good draft pick. They surprised us with that. We were surprised. But hey, guess what? That was a good draft pick for them.
I'm going to say that was probably our biggest miss this year.
Yeah, and he looks good. And we
had him at like 25 on our board.
Yeah,
he was down there.
I want to give props to the Packers in general and the Packers fans. I'm happy for you. You lost Rodgers.
Packers fans don't get props.
But at the end of the day,
they need to hurt for at least 1 year trying to find a quarterback and then come talk to me.
Jordan Love I think he's the answer. I think you guys don't have to worry about a quarterback. I know he's going to be a free agent this year.
So
you're going to have to sign him, but I think you sign him to like a 3 or 4 $30 million contract and you fill the offense with some weapons. I think you do. I think you go out and get him some pieces. So get him a veteran. You get him some veteran offensive.
Do you see them clinching and beating?
I hope they do. I do.
No. Do you see them beating Chicago with the way that defense has been tearing up?
I do. I think this is the reckoning moment that Jordan Love has been waiting for in the national media.
That being said, do you think if Chicago lose, they move on from Justin Fields?
No, so that's a perfect segue. I do think the Packers make the playoffs, but I did want to talk about this today. I was hoping Bo was here, but obviously he's not. This is all I'm going to say real quick.
I think Bo's sold on Justin Fields.
Justin Fields is the answer. I'm sorry, but why would you draft Caleb Williams who doesn't want to be in Chicago?
Did he say that?
Versus he said it without it being said. Let's be honest with the way he's like, I don't want to go to a team that isn't a contender. Guess what? Those teams that are drafting you aren't contenders right now. I'm sorry. They're not.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. It's made to level the playing field in the NFL. And if go back to college, I really don't care. Caleb Williams is the 4th best quarterback in the list on my list coming out this year. He's dropped heavily.
He's at 3 for me.
Heavily, he has dropped.
And I think the more film I do, he might drop a little more. But I think he's at 3 for me right now.
You can tell that locker room, even the coach, that city, those fans, they love Justin Fields, and Justin Fields loves them just as much back. He has a die-hard passion and fire in his heart for that team.
And that's rare. That's rare in Chicago as a quarterback.
Especially because the last few quarterbacks they have not had that same passion.
Well, I would argue they've also gotten screwed over by the coaches.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, Matt Eberflus isn't the answer in Chicago, and they're still, what, 8,
I don't know.
8, 9?
I think here's the thing. I think Eberflus gets another year.
7 and 9, sorry.
I think Eberflus gets another year.
Oh, he does.
Because I think with the way he started the season,
you finished 7
it's kind of Sean Payton-esque, right? Like you lost your starting quarterback, and then you had some rough patches. You won 2-1 with Tyson Bagent, and then Justin Fields came back after Tyson Bagent started to show some promise, and he just started. It was a totally different offense. It was a totally different offense. So
I mean, that Cleveland-Chicago game was, hey, he's back. He's back.
I think there's some promise
and
here.
I think because he's an Ohio State kid, but it's just I hate
running quarterbacks, so you won't see me care about that.
I love that, he has come back and shown people this is what I'm about. This is what I can do with the team that I have. you give him Marvin Harrison, and his ceiling has just been raised just even farther. You have Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore on that team.
I think if they go add a left tackle, maybe trade out of that 8 or 4 or 5 spot, add a left tackle and trade down a little bit, I think it really does make a big benefit to the team as a whole.
And that's what people have realized. They have 2 draft picks for the top 10 people.
Yeah. I think there's such potential there. That being said, so you see Green Bay, they win, they clinch.
I hope they do.
They win, they clinch.
They do. I think they clinch. I think they make playoffs, and I would love to see it.
I don't understand why they say here
in the year
99% chance win, but like, wouldn't that be 100? Because if you win, you clinch. Like, I don't get that. What could happen if you win that would drastically defeat maybe a tie?
And
maybe
the worst thing that happens for the Packers is you're not getting a first for Aaron Rodgers. You're getting a second, but you have always been
already done and over with, though.
Yeah, but
who cares?
You have always been able to find talent.
Jaden Reed.
Yeah, you've been able to find talent in draft, so that's nothing to worry about.
So I would say if I was a betting man, okay, and I don't know if I am at this point. I've lost a decent amount this year, and I don't know if it's the best bet. I hate to say this. I think the Jags might have a ridiculous upset against Tennessee.
Oh yeah,
I think Tennessee.
Christian Kirk also the window has opened for him to come back,
and he is practicing. He is practicing
from a core muscle injury.
I think that it could be a weird upset that the Titans upset Jacksonville, knock them out of first place in the division, and then I still think the Texans are my favorite in this division.
Yeah,
if the Texans win, they slide right into first place in that division. But if the Colts
win, they win.
But if the Colts win, winner of either any of these 3 teams, the winner essentially slides into first place in their division or the best in division record.
Yeah.
So,
and I think Will Levis is back for the Titans, which he is.
Yeah, he's supposed to be back.
He's much better, in my opinion, right now than Ryan Tannehill is.
He's just more dynamic. He's willing to throw the ball.
Yeah, and he opens up the pocket.
So I would say if I was a betting man, Bills make it. I'm gonna say Texans make it and Colts make it.
Okay.
And the only reason the Colts make it is because the Steelers end up losing to Baltimore.
I think they do. I'm sorry.
But
I
you know
think
what?
That defense, even with
anybody
the
that bets,
too hard.
I have been wrong on the Steelers the last 2 weeks, and I've been wrong on the Ravens the last 2 weeks. So take that for what it's worth. And I could care less the Browns clinch, so that's not why I'm saying what I'm saying. I've just been wrong. I also said at the beginning of the season that the Bengals, the Browns, and the Ravens would all make the playoffs. So take out the Bengals and put in the Steelers, and the 3 teams out of the AFC North again did it. If I was a betting man in the NFC, I'd say the Bucs beat Carolina.
I think the Bucs and the Packers make it.
And I would argue that Seattle has the easier road and Green Bay's got a tougher game.
Oh, yeah.
Seattle plays Arizona, which, don't get me wrong, I know Arizona's potential. And the Green Bay Packers play Chicago, which is a top 5 defense in the NFL right now. So I think right now it's looking like the Bucs and the Seattle Seahawks are going to take those last 2 spots. That's what I'm seeing right now.
I like that.
So there was one other thing I wanted to talk about, and I think it just escaped my head, and it kind of pisses me off. Most of your starting quarterbacks are out this week. Outside of the teams that are battling, like we just talked about, Jacksonville. Actually, is T-Law back?
Yes.
Okay, so Jacksonville, the Bills, the Colts, Texans, Steelers. Steelers, Mason Rudolph is starting the game.
But you go up to the, obviously...
And then...
Browns, Joe Flacco's out.
Well, that's what I was saying. So these are so everybody's sitting except for these teams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Jags, Bills, Colts, Texans, Steelers, Bucks, Packers, Seahawks, Saints, Vikings, Falcons. Falcons are starting Taylor Heineke, I think, this week.
Yep.
And then all your teams that have exited out of the playoffs are starting their starting quarterbacks, except for the Chargers, the Broncos, and Washington's starting Sam Howell this week, which they should have been all year. They should have never jumped off Jacoby. That was what I was going to ask. So I had this conversation with somebody on Twitter. Do you really think that Washington is going to move on from Sam Howell and draft Caleb Williams at 2, because that is what fans are saying from Washington.
I think that team is in much more need of a quarterback than just Caleb Williams.
I would argue trenches.
Their defense, they traded away their entire defensive line, dude.
Yeah, I would argue trenches. I actually think so. I think
Sam Howell isn't bad. He was leading the league in passing.
I agree. I think they're obviously going to fire their entire front office.
Yeah.
Bieniemy might get a promotion there or elsewhere. So I don't know if Bieniemy stays.
Bieniemy.
But if Bieniemy goes, does Sam Howell go with?
Yes. So if I'm Sam Howell,
like the Raiders.
So obviously, beginning of the year, I said this. I said wherever Bieniemy goes, I'd like to see 3 more wins. But obviously, that didn't happen on paper. But Sam Howell's play emulsify even higher than what he had.
No one expected what they got out of Sam Howell this year.
No.
Nobody.
Not even me, and I said that he would be play better with Bieniemy.
I had him as
who looked a little bit worse this year? Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, right? They did
a little bit worse.
I'm trying to be nice, okay? I know we got some Chiefs fans.
I mean,
here.
Patrick Mahomes is still kind of a top 10 in that situation. When you look at his numbers.
That's what I was about to say. My issue is he doesn't go because he's under contract.
Well, so
but
yeah,
if they move off from him,
that's what I'm saying. Like, if you make a guy like that a backup,
request to be released.
I think that's what'll end up happening. Is it's going to be a quarterback controversy in the room.
I mean, if Washington has new owners, I think. With them trading away their entire defensive line, you need to fix the trenches first. Caleb Williams isn't going to get you any closer to playoffs right now because...
Even if he is, right? Let's say even if Caleb Williams is that guy. And my comp for Caleb is Russell Wilson right now. So even if Caleb Williams is that guy...
Mine, you're going to hate this.
I mean, when you look at his potential, I see Russ. Potential. So even if he is that guy, okay... My argument here is that if you're firing the front office, they have to come in and they draft that guy and it doesn't work. Hence, Jacksonville, T-Law, right? Mm-hmm. Bryce Young, right? As soon as you put your name connected to a guy.
Baker.
What?
Baker.
Well,
Kevin wasn't Baker's guy.
Correct. Yeah, right now, if Deshaun Watson, if we didn't make playoffs this year, we all said I said if we go less than 8 and 9, he gets fired.
Everybody's fired. Everybody.
Yeah. So I would argue that if you attach your name to a brand new quarterback, your first year head coach, that's your guy. No matter the other issues you have on the team. See, that's what I like what D'Amico did, right? D'Amico said, CJ is my guy.
CJ's the answer.
Immediately what they did, traded and got Will Anderson.
Yeah, they traded a lot, but guess what? He has worked out. And yes, Kelly, I don't think Caleb Williams is the best quarterback prospect coming out. I think it is Penix and Bo Nix, personally. My list as of right now.
Well, I think they're number 2. I don't think they have to pay to get Caleb.
So this is my list right now. It is Michael Penix. It is Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Drake May. That's my top 5 now.
I don't think any of those are either. LOL, I have my dark horse. Yeah, don't give it out in chat because then, someone will draft them. So I think it's funny because and obviously we'll get into this a lot this offseason.
This is a spot where you need to trade down and accrue picks.
But I think if you're a head coach and you come in here, you do what Tennessee did, right? You hold the line. And then if that guy's there in the second round, then trade up. It doesn't cost as much.
Yeah.
But when you trade in the top 10 to get a quarterback, I mean, we've seen the trades that have been made in the past 2 years. There have been some number ones traded.
Let's just go to the Niners.
Yeah, the 3 picks for Trey Lance.
And that was
Yep.
I laughed at that trade. I told my brothers, we were in Hilton Head at the time, I said, that is the worst trade for a quarterback I've seen. I said, this kid does not have enough film on him in college. He does not have enough preparation in college to show me what he is worth in the NFL. And unfortunately, that's what happened.
It's funny that you say that. So another hypothetical before we go. And this is one for everybody out there in the chat and everything. Ryan might hate this one if he hears this. If Shanahan doesn't find a diamond in the rough, does he continue to have his job?
No, not after if you do not draft Brock Purdy, he does not work out, and you struggle with Trey Lance, and they finish the year with a losing record, I do not think he is the head coach no longer, because with that trade, that is up there with
It's the Russell Wilson trade now because of the release.
Trade. That's up there.
Well,
with
they haven't released
trades.
him yet.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but that is.
Well, Deshaun Watson trades yet in one more year. I think that third year you'll know. I think in the third year of Russell Wilson we would have known.
I don't
the whole
even
thing they did there.
that because I have lost respect for the Broncos and Sean Payton. I do not. I
didn't lose respect for Sean Payton. I think that Russell, I don't remember.
Russell played like a top 10 quarterback.
I don't remember who I was watching, but they made a great point. They can't wait to see what the locker room says when Russ leaves.
But this is my thing.
Because in Seattle, everybody blamed it on Pete Carroll. Everybody. They didn't blame it on Russ was a bad guy to work with.
No.
And you knew that Russ had his own office. He had all these own things. Okay, so but if he was given this much attention and there's
He's
some
going
turmoil.
To Atlanta, so it doesn't matter. Or do you bring Russ to Washington?
That's a good.
Or do you bring Russ to Washington and build up the trenches in the draft?
No, I think Atlanta is probably that better option because of the simple fact that you don't need to worry about the draft at the same point. And then you can just help relieve the Denver Broncos' pain with the salary cap.
You're not getting a first for Russell Wilson.
Oh, I think you just pay the salary cap. If you could just free up their salary cap for the next 2 years, I don't think they'll care. All right. I think that's all I got. You got any takeaways for today? We will be doing a show Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday
at
night
8.
we will be live at 8. It's going to be kind of a hot topic, and we're going to talk about Saturday's games. Obviously, that is the Ravens and Steelers, and I think that is the Colts and Texans game.
Yep, both of them. You got them both. You got the Ravens and Steelers are the early game,
and
the Colts and Texans are the 8:00 game.
And those are two huge games with playoff implications.
All 9 and 7 teams playing except for the Ravens.
The Ravens are in already, so
I find it kind of funny though.
We'll talk about that. I'm not going to talk too much about that, but we will talk about that Friday at 8.
All right. That's it for me, too. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day next 2 days or so. And we will see you guys Friday. Have a great one.
Later.
Peace out.